guys, we got this great clip from one of our long content videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Enjoy. Thing that we look at when we're evaluating real estate or rental properties. This is a big one for us, especially when we're buying. We're wanting to determine what's our cash on cash return going to be. And this can be used in a couple of ways, and I'll go through it. But first, let me tell you what the cash on cash return is. This is the metric that calculates the annual percent cash flow generated by the property relative to the amount of the cash invested in the property. So what's that mean? $12,000 worth of rental income on a property, and let's say we're going to have $100,000 invested in it. Our cash on cash return then is 12%. Back to our example. We're looking at a property that has $12,000 worth of revenue yearly, annual revenues of $12,000. Let's say we're buying it for $100,000 and it's a cash transaction. So I'm going to actually put out $100,000 to buy this property. I would have a 12% return on my money. My cash on cash return would be 12%. That's $12,000 of rental income divided by the amount of cash that I'm going to put in the deal. 12%. It's pretty quick, pretty easy math. Again, what do we use this for? We use this to determine, is this something that we want to look further at? Is this a good enough return? And so at 12%, we're thinking a 12% return. That's generally pretty good. Really good cash on cash returns, 20% and up. We get really excited. We stop what we're doing and we start to really take a deep dive on things. So if you're looking at the same deal and you think you can buy it for $100,000, but it throws off $20,000 a year annual revenues or rents, then that's something that would get pretty exciting. 25% is something that we're almost certainly going to buy if it's real. Like if we can return our money inside of 4 years, and that's what 25% does for you on cash on cash returns, we're going to buy that. I mean, we're probably going to buy that. If we believe that it's real, that would be something that we would buy. The third one that we're going to talk about is gross rental yield. So this is the metric that shows the property's annual rental income as a percentage of its market value. So it's calculated by dividing the annual rental income by the property's market value. And so we use this one when we've owned something for a longer period of time. This isn't a metric that we use necessarily to determine whether we're going to buy something or not, although you could, but usually you're not going to have so much equity that this figure would matter that much on whether or not it's a good deal. Again, if it's throwing off 25%, going back to the last statement about cash on cash returns, we're not looking at whether or not it's got a lot of equity. But if we've owned that property now, say for 5 or 10 years, now we're looking at what's our return annually, and then we're going to look at what's our return in relation to the gross rental yield, or so what is our rental income as a percentage of the value of the property. So if we think that we're bringing in that $12,000 a year on rental income, and we believe that the property is worth $250,000 if we sold it as a single family house, but we're still only bringing in $12,000. Now, we may only have $100,000 in the property and we're making a 12% cash on cash return, but we have this $150,000 worth of equity that we need to pay attention to, and it helps to determine whether or not we want to keep that property or we want to sell it on to the next person. And it may actually tell you that the highest and best use is no longer to keep it as a rental property, that the values have gone up enough that it's time to sell the property. Number 4, the fourth thing that we look at to determine whether we're going to buy a rental property and whether or not we're going to keep something as a rental property over the course of time is the net operating income. So this is a big one for us after we have purchased a property and we want to know what the net operating income is, and we want to make sure that we're keeping costs down and that we're running our business well. So the NOI, the net operating income, is a very, very important metric for us. The NOI is the total income generated by the property minus the operating expenses. It provides a measure of the property's profitability before considering financial and tax implications. That $12,000 annual rental income coming in, and you're going to have expenses that come off of that. You may have property management fees, you may have power and water potentially. Hopefully on these small rental properties, you're passing that on to your renter. Sometimes we're not, especially in Puerto Rico. We do some small multifamilies where we've got 1 or 2 meters and we might have 5, 6, 7, or 8 rental units inside of the building. And so we're paying the power and the water, and that would obviously come off of the rental income in order to get us to the net operating income. And I actually like to think about what property taxes are, or the HOA, those things that you would call them financial obligations, but they're expense that's real, and it takes away from you being able to feed your family. So if you have that $12,000 a year in rental income and taxes cost you $1,200 a year, then you're losing $100 a month. And if insurance is another $1,200 a year, that's another $100 a month coming off. And if you've got power and water, and that's another $1,200 a year, that's another $100. Now you're $12,000 of rental income just turned itself into $9,000 of net operating income, and you're making less money. You're making $9,000, not $12,000. So, hey guys, thanks for watching that. Subscribe to our channel, watch this next, and then also check out the pinned content for more great content, guys. God bless.